Okay, so it looks like they give us a little break in action here. They decide to go and talk about what the $1 million man, Ted Dibiase, does for his Thanksgiving Day. This was great. So they show Ted Dibiase. He's talking to himself while riding in a limo. And he kind of explains, what he likes to do for Thanksgiving. So then it shows footage of, I'm guessing, past WWF events where he has given audience members, mostly children, a chance to earn money.
And they couldn't do it.
Pathetic
little kids.
The only one I could say didn't really do it was the first kid. The first kid did 9 out of 10 push-ups. He was supposed to do 10 push-ups. For some reason, I don't know if he miscounted. I don't know what the deal was, but the kid stopped at 9. So he looked at $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase looked at Virgil, and Virgil shakes his head and says, no, he doesn't get the money. So then the next kid has to bounce a basketball 15 times. And he's doing pretty good, but around 14, Ted DiBiase kicks the basketball. Why would he do that to a little kid?
I didn't see that at all.
He kicked the basketball.
Failed. He was pathetic little kid, just failed.
Now, why would he do that?
He wouldn't do that.
He was going to give this kid $500, but he kicks the basketball.
I think you're just against rich people, Rage.
So then you see a woman on all fours who has to bark like a dog, but apparently her barking wasn't, once again, good enough.
It was terrible.
No money.
Terrible bark. She goes, rough. What the hell is that?
So the cherry on top is he goes to a public pool and he tells the manager of the pool, get these brats out of here. He says, I can't do that. So Virgil passes some $100 bills to him.
$200.
He says, I still can't do that. So Virgil gives him more money.
Another $200.
So finally the manager says, let me see what I can do. And he kicks the kids out of the pool.
Yeah, they didn't need to be there.
What kind of monster does that?
Monster? That's just rude.
Oh, come on. It was rude what he was doing. He's abusing his money. So anyhow, we get this little comedy segment with Ted DiBiase talking about Thanksgiving, and then it goes back to Gorilla Monsoon and Jesse the Body Ventura, and they kind of start recapping the night, so it sounds like our main event's coming up.
Yes, it is.
So we're about to move on, and we've got Andre the Giant as the captain of one team, and Hulk Hogan as the captain of the other team.
And as they mentioned earlier, Andre the Giant should have won that match last WrestleMania. Yeah, he had him down for the 3 count.
Yeah, they're talking about a controversial moment. They're saying Andre had Hulk Hogan pinned, but the referee didn't count to 3, and Hogan got up in time. So
he did not. Andre the Giant should have been the winner of that terrible match.
Okay, so let's go ahead to the main event. Okay, so before the main event, we get another interview, this time with the Honky Tonk Man and Jimmy Hart. And the Honky Tonk Man basically says he is the greatest intercontinental heavyweight champion of all time.
You act like he's not right.
I can name a couple that were better in history, but maybe that history hasn't happened yet. Well, number one, the Macho Man Randy Savage has already held the Intercontinental title at this point. So
I can't argue that. I love a Macho Man.
Okay, so he basically tells Hogan that he will put his belt up against his belt any day of the week, and then tells Savage, look, I'm done with you. You're done. You're nothing to me.
Well, he's back from taking care of his stove situation. So,
So we'll see where that goes on the next show. Maybe it resolves itself before our next show, which would be Royal Rumble at this point. Okay, so the main event, we have Andre the Giant with the natural Butch Reed, King Kong Bundy, One Man Gang, and the ravishing Rick Rude. And in their corner, they have Bobby the Brain Heenan and Slick. Their opponents, Bam Bam Bigelow, The Rock Don Morocco.
Yeah,
Don't get confused.
I didn't realize The Rock was in wrestling this early.
No, this isn't the most electrifying man in sports entertainment today.
It's not The Rock.
This is the original, The Rock, Don Morocco. We have the immortal Hulk Hogan, Ken Patera, and Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff. And in their corner, Oliver Humperdinck.
Who?
Oliver Humperdinck. He was that colorful guy in the corner there. You don't remember seeing him come out?
No.
He was there.
Sure.
Anyhow, so this match, I thought, was extremely exciting. It was a really fun match to watch, and all I could think about while watching this match was, how is that ring surviving the pounds that are in this match? You have Andre the Giant well over 500 pounds. Then you have One Man Gang. You have King Kong Bundy and Bam Bam Bigelow, who I believe are all at least over 400 pounds. I mean, I just have to give it up to whoever makes these rings, because there's 8 men standing up on the apron. There's a referee, so that's 9 men, and 4 of those men are 4 to almost over 500 pounds.
A lot of big guys.
A lot of big guys. So, this match moved along, I thought, a lot better than any of the other Survivor Series matches. Tonight, anyhow. I thought the flow, it kept you entertained. This was a really fun and exciting match to watch. Especially having all the big guys, you wouldn't think that. You would think it'd be kind of slow and boring. But with these big guys, even look, did you see Bam Bam Bigelow running?
Bam Bam is a very agile, large
Dear
man.
Lord. Bam Bam
agile, large
rolling
man.
around the ring,
Flying
jumping,
around.
flying. Oh man, I loved watching Bam Bam. I mean, I remember liking Bam Bam, but just watching this again.
Yeah, he was a pretty agile big guy.
This was a fun one to watch. So, our first elimination was Hulk Hogan pinning the natural Butch Reed.
With the leg drop.
Got the leg drop there. The next one was One Man Gang pinning Ken Patera.
Yeah, that one was with a double clothesline, and only One Man Gang's clothesline did any damage.
So the next elimination was the ravishing Rick Rude pinning Mr. Wonderful, Paul Orndorff.
With a schoolboy pin. And, he may have grabbed something, but...
Yeah, he had the tights.
No, it's fine.
He cheated. That one
helping.
shouldn't have counted. So then the next one, The Rock, Don Morocco, pinning ravishing Rick Rude.
With a body press slam. While Hulk Hogan was still in the ring, threw him up against the ropes, body press slam, and pin.
Okay, and then the next one was One Man Gang pinning The Rock, Don Morocco.
Yeah, he does a big splash after the Rock gets a headbutt from Andre the Giant.
Now, this next one's a little controversial, in a sense, because Hulk Hogan gets outside of the ring, and he gets attacked by One Man Gang, and King Kong Bundy.
He should have focused himself on Andre, who was in the ring with him.
And what was really cool was even though he got attacked by both men, he power slammed each man on the outside of the ring. But unfortunately, the referee was still counting on the inside of the ring. And he gets counted out.
Yeah, this was a shock. I mean, first ever Survivor Series, and your golden boy Hulk Hogan gets counted out.
I was shocked. I mean, as we said earlier in the show, I don't think I've ever seen some of these old Survivor Series. I've seen a lot of the WrestleManias, but as for Survivor Series, Royal Rumbles, SummerSlams, there's probably a certain point that I hadn't seen any of them up until probably the late 90s. So this was an interesting one for me to watch, not knowing the full history of what happened in some of these shows. So this was the first show we've done that I actually was surprised about something, because we were talking during the match that this had to come down to Hogan and Andre.
That's what we figured would happen.
We just assumed that's what happened. But instead, this match comes down to 3 against 1, and the one wasn't Hogan.
Yeah.
It was Bam Bam Bigelow.
Bam Bigelow.
Bam Bam.
Bam Bam.
So we were just shocked when we saw this, because we didn't know this had happened, and we didn't look into it or nothing before we sat and watched the program. So this was a shocker for us, and it really made this match even more exciting, because it wasn't your typical, okay, we're going to watch, Hogan's going to win, wave the American flag at the end of the night, pander to the crowd. It wasn't what we thought was going to happen. No, we'll get to that later. But we were really surprised when Hogan got eliminated, and there's still 3 of Andre's guys still left. So when you have Bam Bam as the last man standing on Hogan's team, we were just shocked.
Yeah, I was surprised.
So now you've got Bam Bam against basically 2 tons standing on the other side of the ring, which is not that far of an exaggeration.
Yeah.
So, and then Bam Bam he looked tired, but he kept doing his rolls. He kept fighting these other big men. So then that brings us to our next elimination, which was Bam Bam Bigelow pinning King Kong Bundy. How'd it happen, Blaze?
Well, Bam Bam does a slingshot. He was on the outside of the ropes, and he slingshots his body in for a big slam, or a big splash.
And that was
another one of
awesome
Bam Bam's
move.
Yeah, it was really fun. Cool.
We both looked at each other like, what?
Yeah, Bam Bam really impressed in this match.
That was so cool to see that.
Yeah.
So then brings us to the next one. Bam Bam Bigelow pinning One Man Gang. How'd it happen?
One Man Gang decided he wanted to try to climb to the top rope. Didn't even get all the way on the top rope. He just kind of whoop from a little bit, half on the second rope and once on the top rope. And he jumps off for a splash, totally whiffs.
And all Bam Bam had to do was pin him. So really, this should honestly read One Man Gang eliminated One Man Gang.
Pretty much, yeah.
So at this point, Bam Bam's just trying to survive, and then he comes face to face with the 8th wonder of the world, Andre the Giant. And unfortunately for Bam Bam, this is where his luck runs out. He gets the pin. Andre gets the pin. 1, 2, 3. Bam Bam's eliminated. Andre's team wins. How'd it happen?
Well, Andre the Giant really helps solidify my complaints. He does a shitty underhook suplex where now mind you, Bam Bam's a big guy.
Fair enough, but he's a bigger guy.
He is a bigger guy. And he just terribly does an underhook suplex. And gets the pin on Bam Bam.
It did not look good.
It did not look good at all.
Andre should have stuck with something like a choke slam or something, because
doing actual wrestling moves.
This just looked awkward.
I'd like to see him face off against someone, I don't know, more agile, I guess. See
what you want to see him go against Rey Mysterio, and Rey Mysterio gets squashed?
Obviously not Rey Mysterio, but like maybe Macho Man might give him a more entertaining match.
Well, we saw him against Hogan. You wasn't impressed with that.
Well, no, because Hogan's a very charismatic guy. Hogan is not the best wrestler.
Okay, so speaking of Hogan, we're not done seeing Hogan in this pay-per-view.
No, we are not.
As Hogan decides to come out after the match is over and hit Andre about 2 or 3 times with the World Heavyweight Championship belt.
Just throwing it all around willy-nilly.
He was definitely wanting to get his hands on Andre in this match, and it never really happened. So he came out to get some. Andre hightailed it out of the ring. Kind of looked like Andre wanted to get back in the ring, but Bobby the Brain Heenan said no.
Yeah, he declined that.
So they hightail it out of the arena while Hogan panders to the crowd, does his normal poses that he does to the crowd, almost as if you'd have fast forward to the end of this program, you would have thought Hogan just won the main event.
No, the loser comes in and just egomaniacs all over the place.
So then you get one last little interview with Andre the Giant and Bobby the Brain Heenan, where Bobby the Brain Heenan basically says, Hogan, if you want to put your hands on Andre, sign on the dotted line. We'll do it in the ring for the World Heavyweight title.
Yeah, I think this is setting up for a Andre versus Hogan, possibly at Royal Rumble.
Hopefully that's where we get it. Hopefully we get a chance to watch that rematch.
Are we hopefully on this?
I hopefully want to see it. Dick.
We saw this before. It wasn't great.
Okay, so that's where we're at now. So that brings us to our next segment. Favorite match of the night. Okay, so it's time for the favorite match of the night, and there was only 4 matches. So that kind of limits your decisions, and I'll go ahead and start this off. My favorite match of the night was definitely the main event. So I thought the Andre the Giant, Hogan, I just thought that match was so fun. I thought Bam Bam was such a surprise. I guess growing up I remember Bam Bam. I guess I don't remember how agile he was.
Yeah, I don't remember it either. However, I'm going to have to disagree with you.
You're going to disagree with me?
Yes, my favorite match of the night was the first one.
Okay.
With Macho Man Randy Savage, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, Honky Tonk Man. I'm going to have to go with that one.
That was a very fun match too. This was a hard, kind of a hard decision between the two, but I just had so much fun watching Bam Bam. I had to go there with it.
I think I might have gone with the tag team match if they didn't get rid of all the great tag teams first.
Early?
Yeah.
Yeah, that match kind of seemed like it lasted a little bit too long, which leads us to our next.
Worst match of the night.
Okay, so there's only 4 matches. So, Blaze, what would your worst match of the night have been?
Do you really need to ask that question?
Yes, I really do need to ask.
It was obviously the women's match. This was not a good match.
You know, I almost would have to agree with you, but I'm going to go a different direction.
The tag team?
The tag team match dragged way too long. It was 37 minutes long. The main event was only 22 minutes long. And it was kind of exciting at the beginning, but then it kind of just dreared off for me. It was really just too long for its own good, and it just that like we were saying earlier, all the good teams that we really like got eliminated fairly early.
And I get what you're saying, but when I say that the jumping bomb angels were a little bit of a highlight in that match, that's only because the rest of the match was so bad that I'm giving just a little bit of credit in that match for those girls.
But the Jumping Bomb Angels made that match very watchable and very exciting.
They made it tolerable.
And I do agree that the rest of the women, I mean, there was a few good spots here and there, but it kept my interest for the most part because they utilized those Jumping Bomb Angels fairly often throughout the whole match, where I felt like the tag team match was pretty good early, but it seemed like once Demolition got eliminated, yeah, you still had the Hart Foundation involved, but it just kind of tapered off for me.
I get it.
It just wasn't keeping my interest until the very end, and it started getting a little better at the end. But for me, it kind of went too long for its own good. Just didn't keep me entertained. So the women's match at least kept me somewhat entertained throughout the whole thing, even though it was kind of clunky at times throughout the match. But I stayed entertained for the most part because, you know, the Jumping Bomb Angels, to me, wasn't the only ones that were doing some exciting things. You also had that, I think it was Velvet McIntyre was doing those pins, those roll-up pins and stuff off the top rope. So, I mean, there was some fun spots in that match.
When your wrestlers can barely pull off a body slam, it's a boring match.
All right, well,
it wasn't a great match.
Agree. This one, agree to disagree, but it's hard to say there's a right or wrong answer when you only get 4 matches to choose from.
Yeah.
But that's what we got for our first ever Survivor Series. Any other surprises you'd like to talk about this show?
Well, we were missing some people in this show.
Who'd you miss in this show?
Well, for one, Rowdy Piper. There was no Piper in this show at all.
I completely agree. I was a little shocked to not see Piper in this show. Another one I missed was the Junkyard Dog didn't make an appearance.
Your favorite wasn't even there.
Yeah, Junkyard Dog wasn't even there. So I'm not 100% sure what his status with the company at this point in time was. I don't know if he pretty much is done with the WWF at this point. I'd have to research and look. But I was a little surprised not to see Junkyard Dog.
I was too.
All right, so that concludes this episode where we watched our first ever Survivor Series.
And where do you put this on the list of your favorite Survivor Series?
Well, for one, right now, it's going to have to go to the top.
I'm going to have to say it's the worst.
In the worst? Okay. So this is the best and worst Survivor Series so far.
That's right.
So our next episode would be, we're moving on to the Royal Rumble. You excited?
I am excited.
So guess who I believe we get to see in this Royal Rumble?
The Ultimate Warrior! My favorite as a kid, and I'm hoping I'm not disappointed.
Yeah, he was always fun to watch, very energetic, very exciting. When I saw he was on the description for the next one, I got excited. So I can't wait for that.
I'm looking forward to it.
All right, so we will see you guys next time.
Are we not going to plug our pluggables?
Okay, let's plug our pluggables before we say goodbye to you guys.
All right. Well, you can follow me at Dragon Blazer Productions on Facebook and on Instagram, and on my Twitter page, Dragon Blazer Pro.
All right, and you can find the Rage and Blaze Show on Facebook. You can find at the Rage and Blaze Show on Instagram and at Ricky Rayberg on Twitter.
All right.
Okay, so we will see you next time. Join us with the conversation. Follow our pages. Yeah, a lot of wrestling content on there. If you're a fan of old school wrestling or even wrestling in general, I think you would enjoy it. So give us a follow.
All right.
We'll see you guys next time.
So long, farewell, auf Wiedersehen, and goodbye.
And your winners and still tag team champions of podcast, The Rage and Blaze Show. Thank you for listening. Good night.